The Galactic Council hall was quiet. Too quiet. Normally, it was full of strange voices, bright lights, and loud arguments. But today, everyone was silent. Even the Solarn ambassador, who always shouted during meetings, said nothing. Everyone looked at the two humans standing in the center. Captain Jiho stood tall in his navy blue uniform. His face was calm, but his eyes showed sadness. Beside him was Ambassador Hannah. She looked tired, like someone who had carried a heavy weight for too long. Jiho spoke first. "We are leaving the council," he said. His voice was firm, but not angry. "Humanity has done enough. Now, it's your turn." Gasps filled the hall. Some members stood up. Others whispered to their aides. But no one knew what to say. "We gave you time," Hannah said softly. "We gave you knowledge, protection, and friendship. But the council is not changing. It is only getting worse." A tall creature with silver skin, the leader of the Grak species, stepped forward. "You can't just leave. The balance will break." Jiho nodded slowly. "Yes, it will. But maybe that is what the galaxy needs." Then, without another word, Jiho and Hannah turned and walked out of the hall. Behind them, the other human representatives followed. In a few minutes, all human ships left the council's space. They cut off communication. No messages, no signals, no warnings, just silence. Panic started to grow. For over 70 years, humans had been part of the council. At first, many had laughed at them. Humans were small, emotional, and new to space. But they learned fast. They helped weaker species. They stopped wars. They shared food and medicine. And when needed, they fought with power no one expected. Humans had strange ways. They sang during missions, joked during battles, and never backed down from danger. They made friends easily but protected their own like lions. Over time, the council began to rely on them. Now, they were gone. The next day, trade routes began to break. Pirates attacked smaller ships. Two member races accused each other of cheating in a trade deal. A fight almost started on the council floor. Without humans, everything felt unstable. The leader of the Orotu, a quiet race of thinkers, called for an emergency meeting. "We must understand why the humans left," she said, "and we must bring them back." But no one knew why. Jiho and Hannah had only said a few words. They gave no real reason. Some believed they were angry. Others thought humans were planning something bigger. One small creature, an old diplomat from the Melee species, whispered, maybe they saw something coming. Something bad. Fear began to grow. The council tried to send messages to Earth. No answer. They sent ships to nearby human colonies. All were empty, clean and silent, like people had left in peace but never looked back. One ship found a message carved into a stone wall on an empty colony. It said, ****, we are not running. We are watching. ****. That message made things worse. Some thought humans were hiding new weapons. Others believed they had found a better home. Some even said humans were building their own empire, far away from the council. But no one really knew. And so, the galaxy panicked. Every race began to look at its neighbors with fear. Old enemies prepared for war. Old friends became quiet. The humans had left the table. And the stars felt colder without them. The galaxy was changing. In the weeks that followed the humans' sudden departure, things grew more tense. The Galactic Council, once a place of cooperation, now felt like a broken machine. Trade routes that had been safe for years were now dangerous. Pirates, who had once been kept in check by human patrols, were growing bolder. Without the humans, the galaxy felt less safe. The Corel, a large and powerful race, began building warships. Their fleets, once small and defensive, were now growing every day. The Grak, who had always been on the edge of the council, started to act like they had the right to take what they wanted. And the small species, the ones who depended on the council for protection, were now frightened. They had no one to protect them. In the middle of all this, the council tried to keep peace. Meetings were called, but they did nothing. The same arguments, the same leaders, the same rules. Nothing changed. Some members of the council, especially the Arotu, pushed for new ideas. They wanted to build AI systems to take the place of the humans. But many races, including the Corel and Grak, didn't trust machines. They remembered how the humans had warned against relying too much on AI. Without the humans, the council was falling apart. On the planet Varel, Ambassador Hannah's old friend Sarah sat alone in a quiet office. She had been a diplomat for years, working alongside humans. Now, without them, everything felt wrong. Sarah looked at the empty seat across from her. It used to be filled by Jiho, the human captain. They had worked together, finding solutions to impossible problems. Now, she had no one. Sarah's communicator beeped. She sat up and answered it. "Sarah," the voice said. It was a human voice, but not Jiho's. It was an old friend, a man named Quan. "The council needs to hear the truth." "What truth?" Sarah asked. "What can we do? The humans are gone. We're falling apart." Quan's voice was serious. "We've heard rumors. There's a place, far from the council, somewhere only humans know about. It's not a military base, and it's not a colony, but we think it's a place where the humans are building something. Something important." Sarah's heart skipped. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that the humans might be preparing something. Not to attack, but to change everything." Sarah stood up. "I'll go. I'll find out what's happening." Days later, Sarah's ship moved quietly through space, heading toward the Perseus Expanse. It was an area few ships dared to enter. The Expanse was a dangerous place, filled with space storms, broken planets, and drifting debris. But the rumors said that the humans had built something there, something that could change the galaxy forever. Sarah's team was small. She trusted every one of them. They were quiet, careful, and intelligent. They were used to dealing with tough situations, but this mission felt different. They were not going to find answers in the bright halls of the Galactic Council. They were going into the unknown. As the ship moved deeper into the expanse, the stars seemed to disappear. The blackness of space swallowed them. It was a long journey, and as the hours passed, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being washed. "What do you think, Captain?" Sarah asked. Her voice was calm, but inside, she felt a knot of worry. The captain, a quiet woman named Mina, turned her eyes toward Sarah. "I think we're close, but I don't like this. It's too quiet." Sarah nodded. She couldn't agree more. In all her years as a diplomat, she had never felt so uneasy. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped loudly. A red light flashed across the control panel. "We're not alone," Mina said. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" "There's another ship. It's human." Sarah's heart raced. "What do you mean, human?" "The humans left the council. There shouldn't be." The lights on the ship flickered, and the crew heard a strange sound. A low hum, like a voice in the distance. Sarah's hands gripped the control panel. "Captain, get us out of here," Sarah ordered. But Mina's voice was calm. "We're not going anywhere." "Why not?" Sarah asked. "We have to see this. We're not running anymore." The galaxy was falling apart without humans. That much was clear. The Galactic Council, once a place where different species could meet, discuss, and solve problems, was now filled with arguments and confusion. On the planet Pharoth, the Arotu had gathered to discuss the future. Their leader, a tall, thin creature named Sereth, stood at the front of the room. He was a thinker, a planner, someone who saw the big picture. But even Sereth could see that the situation was getting worse every day. "We cannot continue like this," Sereth said, his voice low but strong. "Without humans, the council is weak. We must find a way to fill the gap they left." A member of the Corel stood up. The Corel were a large, strong species, and their leader, Vorik, was a powerful figure. He had a deep voice that echoed through the room. "We need to act quickly. The Grak are moving their fleets. If we don't stop them, we'll be at war." Sereth nodded but didn't speak. He knew that war could break out at any moment, but he didn't think that was the answer. The Orotu had always believed in peace and reason. But without the humans, the galaxy seemed to be losing those values. In another part of the galaxy, on a small moon in the Zoreth system, Hannah sat alone in her office, looking at the stars. The light from distant suns shone brightly, but it felt distant. The council had fallen into chaos, and she knew that she had to act. She had to find a way to bring some order back to the galaxy. Her communicator beeped. It was a message from Jiho. "Are you still watching?" The message said, "The galaxy is falling. They are lost without us." Hannah sighed and typed a reply. "I know, but we can't just give them everything. They need to learn." Jiho's response was quick. "They'll never learn unless we show them. It's time to return." Hannah stared at the screen. She had always trusted Jiho, but this felt different. Could they really return? Could they really go back to the council after everything that had happened? The galaxy was in chaos, but was it their responsibility to fix it? She stood up and walked to the window, looking at the blackness of space. The stars seemed to offer no answers, but she knew one thing. The humans had made their choice, and it wasn't just about leaving the council. It was about something bigger. They had left because they could no longer stand by and watch the galaxy destroy itself. But could they really fix it now? Could they save the council again? Sereth's words echoed in her mind. Asterisk, we need to fill the gap they left. Asterisk, could the Orotu be right? Could they bring back the order that had once held the galaxy together? Meanwhile, in the council chamber, new plans were being made. The Corel and the Grak had already begun to make their moves. New trade agreements were being written, but they were filled with fear and distrust. No one trusted anyone anymore. The galaxy was breaking apart, and the only thing that could save it was unity. But unity seemed impossible without the humans. Sereth spoke again. "I propose that we create a new system of government, a system led by AI, machines that will think clearly and without emotion. A system without the weaknesses of species like the humans." Vorik, the Corel leader, raised his hand. "And who will control these machines?" "The council," Sereth said, his voice calm. "We will control them. And with them, we will restore order." There was silence in the room. It was an idea that sounded good on paper. Machines could think faster than any of them. They could calculate the best solutions without being swayed by emotions. But the Corel and the Grak weren't the only ones in the council. There were many species who didn't trust AI. "I don't know," said a voice from the back. It was Sarah, the diplomat who had worked closely with the humans. "I think the humans were right. I may be smart, but it's not wise. It's too dangerous to put everything in the hands of machines." "But they left us," Vorik shouted. "They gave up on us." Sarah looked at him, her face calm. "They didn't give up. They left because they saw what you are doing. They saw the council heading toward a collapse, and they couldn't stop it. They wanted to give you a chance to change." "And they're doing it again," Sereth said, his voice colder now. "They are showing us again that they are better than we are, and the galaxy is weaker because of it." Sarah felt a wave of sadness wash over her. Maybe they left because they knew the galaxy had to learn. It can't keep relying on them. It has to learn how to stand on its own. Sereth turned away, staring out at the stars. The future of the galaxy was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Without the humans, everything was changing. The galaxy was buzzing with fear, and whispers began to spread like wildfire. Some claimed they had seen human ships far beyond the known reaches of space. Others said they had intercepted strange signals, old human codes, encrypted messages, and broken transmissions that no one had expected. In the council, Members who had once ignored such rumors now grew anxious. There were too many strange stories. The humans were gone, but something about their absence felt wrong. It was as if they were still out there, watching. On the edge of the galaxy, far beyond the usual trade routes and council-controlled space, Sarah and her team continued their search. The Perseus Expanse, a wild and dangerous part of space, was their destination. Many ships avoided this area because of the unpredictable space storms, the dangerous debris, and the rumored abandoned colonies. But Sarah's mission was clear: find the humans and learn what they were doing. After several days of traveling through the dark, empty space, Sarah's ship, the Vanguard came upon a strange signal. It wasn't just a random noise. It was too structured, too specific. It was as if someone was trying to communicate, but not in the way normal ships did. "Captain," said Mina, the ship's captain, looking at the strange readings on her console, "this isn't just static. It's human." Sarah felt a sharp breath in her throat. "Human? How is that possible?" Mina pointed to the screen. "The signal is encoded in a way only humans used. It's from somewhere near the outer edge of the expanse. We're close." Sarah's eyes narrowed. They had spent so long chasing rumors, but now they were close. Really close. "We're not going back now," Sarah said, her voice steady. She turned to the crew. "Prepare for the next jump. We need to be ready for anything." The Vanguard cruised silently through the empty space, the stars growing distant as they followed the signal. Every crew member on board knew this could be dangerous, but they had no choice. They needed answers. Hours passed. Then, finally, they reached a part of the expanse where the signal became stronger. The darkness of space was thick, like a heavy fog. The ship's lights flickered, and for a moment, Sarah felt a cold chill run down her spine. "Captain," one of the crew members said quietly, "we're approaching something. There's a ship ahead. It's human." Sarah's heart raced. "What? A human ship?" Mina nodded. "It's not on the records. It's not part of the fleet, but it's human." Sarah stood up, her mind racing. This was it. This was the moment they had been waiting for. "Bring us in closer," Sarah ordered. "Let's see who is still out here." The ship approached slowly, its lights flickering as they came closer. It was an old freighter, the kind used by humans before they joined the council. But this one was different. It looked well maintained, and there was no sign of life on board. The ship was quiet, too quiet. Mina's voice was low as they docked. "This isn't a rescue mission. We don't know what we'll find." Sarah nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. "We don't have a choice. We have to know." They suited up in their space gear and boarded the ship. The air was thick with dust, and the silence was almost unbearable. No sound came from the engines, no hum of life, just the stillness of an abandoned place. As they moved through the dark halls of the ship, the crew found something unexpected. On a large screen, there was a single message, a simple text that made Sarah's heart stop for a moment. ***, we are not running. We are watching. ***. Sarah felt a chill run through her. The message was clear. It was from the humans, and it was meant for them. "What does it mean?" one of the crew members whispered. Sarah stared at the screen, trying to understand. "I think it means they're still out there, watching us." But the question remained, why? Why had they left the council? Why had they chosen to hide in the dark corners of the galaxy? "Captain, there's more," said one of the crew members, his voice shaking slightly. "There's a file here. It's encrypted." Sarah walked over to him. "Open it." The crew member typed quickly, and the file appeared. It was a message from Jiho, the human captain who had once been part of the council. The message was brief but powerful. ***, we had to leave. The galaxy is sick. It needs a cure. We will return when the time is right. ***. Sarah felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear, confusion, And something else. Hope. The humans weren't gone. They were still out there, waiting, watching. And when the time was right, they would return. Sarah sat quietly in her quarters aboard the Vanguard *, staring at the message from Jiho. The words burned in her mind. The galaxy is sick. It needs a cure. What did that mean? Was the galaxy truly sick? And if so, what could the humans do to fix it? Her hand clenched around the message. She didn't have answers, only more questions. She knew the galaxy had changed since the humans had left. The council had been falling apart, and races were starting to act on their own, without thinking about the consequences. War seemed closer every day. Sarah's communicator beeped, breaking her thoughts. It was Mina, the ship's captain. Her voice came through, calm but urgent. Sarah, we got company. You need to come to the bridge. Sarah's heart skipped. Company? Who is it? Unknown ships. They're approaching fast. Are they hostile? Mina paused before answering. We don't know, but they're human ships, I think. Sarah stood up quickly. She wasn't sure what she would find, but she knew she had to see it for herself. When Sarah reached the bridge, she saw the view screen showing several ships ahead. They weren't like the ships of the Galactic Council. They were older models, but well kept. There was something about them that felt familiar, like old friends returning after a long time. Mina looked at Sarah. Do you recognize them? Sarah nodded. They look like human ships. But why are they here? We're about to find out, Mina said. I'm opening the communication channel. Sarah watched as the screen changed, showing a human figure in a dark uniform. His face was serious, but there was a calmness to him that made Sarah feel like everything would be okay. This is Captain Lee of the Nightshade *, the man said. We are here to speak with Sarah, the diplomat. You are on a mission to find us. We've been watching. Sarah's eyes widened. You've been watching us. Captain Lee nodded. Yes, the humans are not gone. We are here, watching from the shadows. We've been waiting for the right moment to return, but the galaxy isn't ready. Not yet. Sarah felt a strange mix of emotions. She wanted to ask so many questions. Why had they left? What was this cure Jiho had spoken of? But she knew she had to be careful. The humans weren't here to fight. They were here with something bigger in mind. What do you want? Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. We want to help, Captain Lee said simply. But the galaxy has to change. It can't go on like this. The council is weak. The races are divided. They need guidance. And the humans, we can give them that. But only if they are ready. Sarah didn't know what to think. Could the humans really help? Could they bring the galaxy together again? After everything that had happened, was there hope? The galaxy has lost its way, Captain Lee continued. But there is still time. If the right people are willing to listen, we can fix this. But first, we need to gather the leaders of the council and speak to them. If they don't understand, if they won't listen, then the humans will leave again. For good. Sarah felt a heavy weight in her chest. She knew the council was weak. She had seen it with her own eyes. But the idea of the humans returning and taking control was frightening. Could the galaxy trust them? Could they leave without causing even more chaos? What will happen if they don't listen? Sarah asked quietly. Captain Lee's expression didn't change. If they don't listen, we will leave. And the galaxy will fall into chaos. More races will break away. Wars will start. And eventually, everything will burn. The room was silent. Sarah's mind raced. She knew the council had failed. But was it right to let the humans take control? They had left once. Could they be trusted again? I'll take your message to the council, Sarah said finally. But I can't promise anything. The races are divided. They may not listen. We don't expect them to, Captain Lee said with a small smile. But we will wait. We've waited long enough. Sarah left the bridge, her mind full of questions. The humans were still out there, watching, waiting. They had their own plan, but what was it? And could the galaxy accept it? As she looked out at the stars, she realized one thing. The galaxy's future was uncertain, and only time would tell if the humans could truly be the cure it needed. The council chambers were filled with tension. Representatives from every race were present, each sitting in silence, waiting for the meeting to begin. The atmosphere was thick with uncertainty. The galaxy was falling apart, and no one seemed to know what to do. It was as if the room itself was holding its breath, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Sarah stood at the front of the room, her heart pounding. She had traveled back from the edge of the galaxy with the message from Captain Lee and the human fleet. She had been told to speak on their behalf, but as she looked out at the council members, she wasn't sure if they would listen. Many of the races were still angry at the humans for leaving. They saw the humans' departure as a betrayal, a sign that the humans didn't care about the galaxy anymore. But Sarah knew the truth. The humans hadn't left because they didn't care. They had left because they couldn't watch the galaxy destroy itself any longer. Now, they were offering a chance to fix everything. But would the leaders of the council be willing to listen? "Everyone is here," Sereth, the leader of the Arotu, said. His voice was calm but firm. "Let's begin." Sarah stepped forward. She knew the room was watching her, waiting for her words. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. She had to speak carefully. This was not just about her mission. It was about the future of the entire galaxy. "Honorable council members," Sarah began, her voice steady but strong. "I come with a message from the humans." A murmur went through the room. Sarah could feel the tension rise. The humans had been gone for weeks, and now they were returning, at least in some way. It was difficult for many to understand, especially for those who had felt abandoned by them. "I know the humans left," Sarah continued, "but they didn't leave because they didn't care. They left because the galaxy was broken. The council was broken. The races were turning on each other, and the humans could no longer be a part of that." Sarah looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each leader. The Karel, the Grak, the Arotu, everyone was here, and all of them had different opinions about the humans. Some were angry, some were fearful, and some were curious, but none of them seemed to be ready to accept what she was saying. "They left because they saw the galaxy had to change," Sarah continued, "but now they are offering a chance to fix it. They are watching from the shadows, waiting for us to be ready. They want to help, but they will only return if we are willing to listen." A voice from the back of the room interrupted. It was Vorik, the leader of the Karel, his voice booming with anger. "And why should we listen to them now? After they left us in our time of need, the humans abandoned the council when we needed them most." Sarah's heart skipped. She knew this would be the hardest part, the anger. She had expected it, but hearing it out loud still hurt. "The humans didn't abandon anyone," Sarah said firmly. "They left because they believed we could fix things ourselves. But now, they see that we are failing, and they are offering help. Help we desperately need." Vorik sneered. "Help? You want us to trust the humans again, after everything they've done?" Sarah's voice remained calm, but inside, she felt the weight of the room's distrust. "I know this isn't easy to accept, but sometimes the greatest help comes from those who are willing to step away. The humans left because they couldn't fix things by themselves, but they still believe the galaxy can be saved." The room fell silent. No one spoke. The tension hung in the air like a storm cloud, waiting to break. Sarah could feel their eyes on her, some full of anger, others full of doubt. She knew it would take more than words to convince them. "We cannot keep going like this," Sarah said, her voice softer now. "The galaxy is falling apart. The Karel are building warships. The Grak are breaking away. The small species are scared. And the council." She paused, looking around the room. "The council is weak. We need to change. We need to accept help, and the humans are offering that. Sereth, the Arotu leader, stood up. His thin frame moved slowly as he crossed the room. He had been silent throughout the conversation, but now his voice cut through the tension like a knife. We may not have the answers, Sereth said quietly, but we cannot ignore the truth. The galaxy is dying, and we are failing to stop it. Perhaps we should listen to the humans. Perhaps they are the cure we need. The room was still. No one spoke, but for the first time in weeks, there was a shift, a small glimmer of hope. Sarah let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Maybe, just maybe, they were ready to listen. The humans weren't the enemy. They were the answer. And if the galaxy could accept that, then there was still hope. The council room was filled with a strange kind of quiet. After hours of debate, the leaders of the galaxy's races had finally agreed to listen. It was a small victory, but it was something. The humans, once thought to be lost forever, were now offering their help. But the question remained, would the galaxy be able to accept it? Sarah stood at the front of the room, her hands clasped together. She had done her best to bring the message of the humans to the council, but she knew the hard work was just beginning. Now, the real challenge was to bring the galaxy back together. Let's begin, said Sereth, the Arotu leader, his voice steady. Sarah glanced around the room. She could see the faces of the Corel, the Grak, and many other races, each one filled with uncertainty. Some were angry, some were afraid, and some simply didn't understand what was happening. But for the first time in a long while, there was a feeling of hope, a feeling that change was possible. The humans have been watching us. Sarah began, her voice clear. And they believe that if we are willing to listen, they can help us fix what is broken. They are ready to return, but only if we accept their offer. A low murmur ran through the room. The Corel leader, Vorik, stood up first. His large form towered over the others, his eyes burning with suspicion. We've heard their message, Vorik said, his voice filled with doubt. But how can we trust them? They left us once. What's to stop them from leaving again? Sarah felt the weight of his words. She knew that trust would not come easily. But the galaxy was in danger, and they didn't have the luxury of time. If they didn't act soon, things would only get worse. The humans didn't leave because they didn't care, Sarah said, her voice strong. They left because they saw that we were on the edge of destruction. They didn't give up on us. They just needed us to find our own way. But now, they are offering to help us heal. Vorik crossed his arms, clearly unconvinced. And what makes you think they can help us now? They can't fix the mess we've made. Sarah took a deep breath. Maybe they can't fix everything, but they can help us start over. The galaxy has lost its way. We've spent too long fighting each other, focusing on our differences instead of our strengths. But the humans believe we can rebuild. They believe we can come together, if we try. A soft voice interrupted from the back of the room. It was Sarah's old friend, Jiho, the human captain who had sent the message. He had joined the meeting in secret as a symbol of the humans' commitment to helping. We don't have all the answers, Jiho said, stepping forward. But we've learned a lot in the time we've been away. We've learned that no race can survive alone. We need each other. If the galaxy is going to survive, it has to be united. The room was still for a moment, the weight of Jiho's words sinking in. The Grak leader, Rugger, stood up next, his massive form shaking the ground beneath him. The humans may have a point, Rugger said, his voice deep. We cannot keep fighting forever. The galaxy is falling apart, and we are all responsible. Perhaps it's time to listen. For the first time, the leaders of the council seemed to be in agreement. They had been divided for so long. Each race focused on its own survival, but now there was a chance to rebuild. There was a chance to create something stronger, something united. We cannot fix everything overnight, Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. But we can start. We can work together. The humans are offering us a way forward, and we need to take it. If we don't, we may never have another chance." The silence in the room was broken by a quiet voice from the back. It was Sarah's friend, Hannah, a fellow diplomat who had worked alongside her during the humans' time with the Council. Hannah stepped forward, her eyes serious. "I agree with Sarah," Hannah said. "The humans are offering us something that no one else can. We have to accept their help, or we will lose everything." The room was quiet again, but this time, the tension felt different. It wasn't the tension of anger or fear. It was the tension of possibility. The possibility of change. Sareth, the Arotu leader, stood up once more. "Then let's begin," he said, his voice steady. "Let's work together. Let's build a new council, one that can bring the galaxy back from the edge. But this time, we will work with the humans, and we will do it right." The council chamber was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The races of the galaxy, once divided and broken, were now coming together. They weren't sure what the future would hold, but for the first time in a long time, they had hope. The humans had left the table, but they had come back to help. And this time, the galaxy was ready to listen.